In 2007, the NRCHA formed the Hall of Merit in order to honor and recognize members who have contributed greatly to the association through their use of their business skills. Tonight we welcome and thank Mr. John Hyde.
My grandfather had a farm down in Monroe, Michigan, which is south of Detroit, and it was run by an old Scotsman, Russell McFarlane. And he didn't believe in mechanization, so everything was done with big old draft horses. And the rule was, because I was 3 or 4 years old, that I wasn't allowed to ride the horses, and I couldn't ride horses until I was old enough to get on the horse by myself. That was my mother's rule. So one day they hooked up the team, and they had it hooked up to a hay wagon. And I looked at it, and I thought, I can walk up the tongue of that wagon, get to the harness and crawl up on the horse. So I walked up the tongue of the wagon while no one was around. I got up on the horse. My mother was beside herself, and my grandfather said, "Doris, that's exactly what you said. When he could get on the horse by himself, he could ride the horse."
No one knew it at the time, but the creativity, ingenuity, and intelligence 4-year-old John Hyde showed when he climbed up onto that draft horse displayed the traits that would shape and mold the rest of his life. John was presented with an obstacle and used his imagination to get the job done.
And for years, I was on the back of those horses while they did their work all day, every day down on the farm. And that really was my first brush with horses. And then, of course, being on a farm, we had riding horses and we had ponies and all those kind of things. And that really started my love affair with horses. And I absolutely loved horses until I found fast cars and fast girls, and that sort of substituted for a period of time.
After high school, John attended New York University's business school and eventually made his way to California to work in the music and film industries. That's where John reconnected with horses, but he did it in a rather unusual way.
When I moved to California, the next time I was riding actually was out on when I was working at Universal. And this is before they had the tour. And they used to keep 2 or 3 horses out at the old Virginia ranch that they'd use for atmosphere for the westerns that they were shooting. And we used to go out on weekends and saddle the horses up and ride all over the back of the Universal lot. It's about 400 acres, and in those days it was just open country. So we would take our dates on Saturday afternoon, and we'd go out and we'd go horseback riding, and then we'd come back in by the lake where they shot McHale's Navy, and we'd build a fire, and it was a cheap date. The girls were impressed because they were on a movie lot, and it was great.
To put it mildly, John's career took off in the film and television industry, and his credits are far too numerous to list them all. John has been involved in the production, distribution, and as a management consultant on nearly 125 motion pictures and television shows. Among the films are Short Circuit, Flight of the Navigator, 8 Million Ways to Die, Never-Ending Story, The Final Countdown, Mighty Mouse, 9½ Weeks, UHF, and the award-winning Das Boot. Hyde is a member of both the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences and the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, where he has been nominated for 5 Emmys. As president and CEO of Film Roman, John won an Emmy as the executive producer of an animated show you may have heard of, The Simpsons. John's a former officer and director of the Cousteau Society and serves as vice chairman of the board at the Jim Henson Company. John and his wife Kate eventually purchased a ranch in Central California where they could escape the rigors of the entertainment industry on the weekends, and John could reconnect with his past love of horses. They named it after his grandfather's farm and called it Fairley Ranch. After meeting and learning a tremendous amount from Tom Dorrance and Tom Marvel, their number of horses began to grow as they became involved in the cutting industry for about 8 years.
Then we brought on a trainer by the name of Wayne Hinder, who had been working down at the Ward Ranch, and we brought him in, and he introduced us to reined cow horses. And so ever since, we've sort of, depending on where the horse fit, we would either have cutters or reined cow horses or both every year. And we went from that one horse auspicious beginning to at one point we were as high as about 100 or 120 horses. And I think at the moment we're back down to a more sane level of 50 or 60.
One of John's strengths in the entertainment industry lies with his ability to take a struggling company and turn it into a money-making powerhouse. He became known as the Hollywood Doctor because of his ability to stop the bleeding and getting companies back on course. This uncanny ability didn't go unnoticed by the board of the NRCHA.
We had been probably 4 or 5 years showing horses in the NRCHA and selling them at the sales. And one day, a combination of Howard Ehrenberg and Teddy Robinson called and asked me if I would come on the board. They wanted some help in reorganizing the NRCHA and sort of streamlining it and rebuilding it.
The NRCHA had been going through rough financial times, and now on the board, John helped chart out a new course. This was approximately 10 years ago, and the NRCHA has had a steady income growth ever since. John notes that many other people have been involved in the association's success, but those that were around him will tell you he was highly instrumental in laying the foundation for the NRCHA to build upon. Even though he's an avid horse lover and rider, John is rarely seen on horseback at the shows. In fact, he said many people don't even realize he rides.
Well, my life in LA and just the business I'm in, being in the entertainment business, you're constantly competing. It's constantly competitive. And because of that, one of the things that I've sort of kept from being competitive is my own riding. Not necessarily our horses, just my own riding. I come up here every weekend and I can do everything that I want to do. I can cut, I can rope. I have everything I want. And I specifically don't want my riding to be competitive because I don't want to have the pressure on my riding that I have on my everyday life. On the other hand, we are extremely competitive with our horses.
While talking to John, it's easy to pick up on the fact that both he and his wife Kate have a love for today's youth. They've opened up their ranch for youth groups to come and ride for free and love to have families with children come up so they can share their love of horses.
If you really think about it, the future of anything are the youth that you bring in. And maybe it's because I work in a business where the youth turns over every 10 years. I'm very cognizant of that. So to me, to be able to bring youth in, to be able to bring kids in, to have kids learn not only about horses, but the responsibility of keeping a horse, relating to a horse, I think is an incredibly good learning experience. It builds character that I think is missed by a lot of young people today.
John is still a member of the board of directors and now is the chairman of the NRCHA Foundation.
For an association the size of the NRCHA, to have a foundation that both honors the past and honors the tradition, if you will, of the NRCHA, but also builds the youth, which is, of course, the future. We've given out close to $100,000 in scholarships. And we also have a crisis fund for various NRCHA members that have problems. And then we have a youth fund, and altogether we have close to $300,000. And we shepherd it and make sure that it's available when needed for the scholarships and to carry on the history of the background of the NRCHA.
From volunteering his time and business skills to help restructure the association and acting as chairman of the NRCHA Foundation, to breeding great horses along with his wife Kate at the Fairley Ranch in California, John Hyde has truly been a gift to the NRCHA.
I think being elected into the Hall of Merit is one of those honors that can't be, it's not like winning an award here or winning an award there. It's for having done something positive. And I would hope what's come out of it positive is the foundation and the youth programs and the youth scholarships and the things that we're doing to build the NRCHA.
The National Range Cow Horse Association welcomes John Hyde to the Hall of Merit.